The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window as Andrea finished packing their day bag. Connor was helping 3-year-old Mandy into her jacket, the little girl barely containing her excitement. "Zoo Day!" Mandy exclaimed, her small hands clapping together. "That's right, sweetheart," Connor smiled, zipping up her bright yellow jacket. First time at the big zoo. Andrea and Connor had noticed their daughter's unusual affinity for animals from an early age. While other parents at the park chased their toddlers, Mandy would sit contentedly, surrounded by curious ducks that seemed drawn to her gentle presence. Their family dog, typically a bundle of energy, would calm immediately when Mandy approached. They'd taken her to petting zoos before, but today marked her first visit to the city's renowned Wildlife Conservation Center. They arrived early, the spring air crisp and filled with promise. Mandy's eyes widened at the entrance, taking in the colorful banners and the distant sounds of exotic animals. Andrea secured Mandy in her stroller, knowing the expansive grounds would tire little legs quickly. "Remember," Connor knelt to Mandy's eye level, "we stay together today. The animals here are beautiful but wild." Mandy nodded solemnly, her chestnut curls bouncing. Wild but good. For the first hour, they moved through the African Plains exhibit, watching giraffes stretch their elegant necks toward acacia trees and zebras grazing in dappled sunlight. Mandy remained uncharacteristically quiet, absorbing everything with intense focus. She would occasionally point and whisper names, not always correctly, but with such conviction that neither parent corrected her. As they approached the Asian wildlife section, Andrea noticed Mandy becoming restless in her stroller. "Ice cream break," she suggested, spotting a vendor nearby. "I could use something cold." Connor nodded, positioning the stroller beside a viewing area for the Bengal tiger habitat. "We'll wait right here. Chocolate for me." Andrea walked toward the small queue forming at the ice cream cart, glancing back to see Connor pointing out something to Mandy in the distance. Likely the tigers lounging on rocky outcroppings far from the viewing glass. When she returned minutes later with dripping cones, Andrea's heart plummeted. The stroller was empty, and Connor was scanning the area with rising panic. "Where is she?" Andrea demanded, ice cream forgotten. "I looked down at my phone for just a second." Connor's voice was tight with fear. "She was strapped in. I don't understand how—" A murmur of voices drew their attention to the right side of the viewing area, where a small crowd had gathered. Something about the collective posture of the onlookers, backs straight, phones raised, voices hushed, sent a chill through Andrea. "Excuse me," she pushed through the gathered visitors, Connor close behind. What they saw stopped them cold. Mandy stood unassisted at the glass partition, her small palms pressed against the transparent barrier. On the other side, a massive Bengal tiger, at least 500 pounds of rippling muscle and vibrant orange and black coat, mirrored her stance perfectly, enormous paws aligned with her tiny hands. "That's Raja," a visitor whispered. "He never comes to the viewing area." The tiger's amber eyes were locked with Mandy's. When she shifted slightly to the left, the great cat moved in perfect synchrony. She took 3 deliberate steps to the right. Raja followed with fluid grace. The crowd watched, transfixed. Andrea moved forward cautiously, maternal instinct warring with recognition that this moment was extraordinary. Connor placed a restraining hand on her arm. "Wait," he breathed. "Look." Mandy had placed both hands flat against the glass, her forehead touching the barrier. Raja, maintaining unwavering eye contact, gradually lowered his massive head in what appeared to be a deliberate bow. A collective gasp rose from the onlookers. The tiger then pressed his face to the glass directly opposite Mandy's, a deep rumbling purr audible even through the thick barrier. "I've been coming here for years," an elderly man nearby murmured. "I've never seen anything like this." Andrea knelt slowly beside her daughter, careful not to disrupt whatever was transpiring. "Mandy, sweetie, how did you get out of your stroller?" "Tiger sad," Mandy replied simply, not looking away from Raja. "I help." After several minutes, Andrea gently took Mandy's hand. "We should continue our zoo adventure, honey." As they moved away, Raja emitted a sound somewhere between a moan and a whimper, pacing anxiously along the glass. Mandy turned back, waving. "Bye, Tiger. Feel better." The family continued their tour, but something about the encounter lingered. Connor kept noticing a man in a navy blazer with zoo insignia who seemed to be following their path at a discreet distance, occasionally speaking into a radio. When they circled back to the Asian exhibits later that afternoon, Mandy immediately strained toward the tiger habitat. This time, Raja was nowhere to be seen. "He's probably resting, sweetheart," Andrea explained, disappointed for her daughter. But the moment Mandy approached the glass, a blur of orange and black materialized from a hidden cave. Raja bounded toward her with startling speed, skidding to a stop at the barrier. The ritual repeated. Mirrored movements, the respectful bow, the shared gaze that seemed to transcend species. "Remarkable," came a voice behind them. The man in the navy blazer approached, extending his hand. "Dr. Elizabeth Chen, head of zoological research here. I apologize for observing your family, but what's happening is scientifically significant." She explained that Raja had been rescued 6 months earlier from an illegal private zoo in Southeast Asia. Despite receiving excellent care, he had remained withdrawn, rarely engaging with enrichment activities and showing signs of depression. "May I ask if Mandy has had previous experience with big cats?" Dr. Chen inquired. Connor shook his head. "Just a house cat and our dog, but she's always had this connection with animals." Dr. Chen nodded thoughtfully. "Some humans possess an extraordinary empathic capacity that animals sense. It transcends our understanding, but its effects are undeniable." She gestured toward Raja, now sitting regally, his eyes never leaving Mandy. "This is the most responsive we've seen him since his arrival." After a moment's hesitation, Dr. Chen made a proposal. Would the family consider participating in a controlled research study? Mandy would interact with Raja through the safety barrier under supervision, helping researchers understand more about animal-human connections, while potentially aiding Raja's rehabilitation. "We'd provide lifetime passes, of course," she added, "and Mandy would be contributing to wildlife conservation in a meaningful way." Andrea and Connor exchanged looks. The scientific explanation made sense, but there was something more happening, something almost mystical in the connection between their daughter and this magnificent creature. The program began the following week. Each Saturday morning, Mandy would sit near the glass while researchers observed Raja's behavior. Progress came quickly. By the 3rd week, Raja had begun accepting food from keepers. By the 6th, he allowed veterinary examinations without sedation, as long as Mandy was visible nearby. Most significantly, he began interacting with the other tigers, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence. Dr. Chen's research documented everything, careful not to anthropomorphize while acknowledging the undeniable impact of Mandy's presence. On Mandy's 4th birthday, celebrated at the zoo with a special behind-the-scenes tour, she announced her future plans with the certainty only a child can possess. "When I'm big," she declared, "I'm going to be an animal doctor for sad tigers." Dr. Chen smiled. "We call them veterinary behaviorists, and I think you'd make an excellent one." Years later, the study would be published in respected scientific journals, establishing a foundation for research into emotional intelligence across species barriers. Raja would become the zoo's ambassador, helping educate visitors about conservation efforts for endangered Bengal tigers. And Mandy, the little girl with the extraordinary gift, continued her visits, eventually volunteering at the zoo through her teens. The zoo staff knew her journey was just beginning, but they had already given her a nickname that would follow her into adulthood: the Tiger's Guardian.